Welcome to your Once Human news. This week's patch is all about quality of life features and more weapon balancing. The corrosion shotgun might just be busted now. But first, here's our weatherman, Greg.
I like cookies. I want a cookie.
Well, I guess there's no weather this week until we get the rain god a cookie. Anyway, time to speedrun the giant set of updates. First up, Once Human and Once Human Raidzone have been split into separate game modes. To access Raidzone, you can click on a new button at the main menu to switch modes. Your account's cosmetics and character limit are shared between both modes, so this change at first seems mostly just a user interface update, as you can still move characters back and forth similar to the regular scenario system. The only limitation from what it used to be is that events and things like Battle Pass rewards will be specific to the mode, and when in Raidzone you can't visit eternally. Next up, for custom server owners, they are adding Endless Dream as an option and allowing for upgrade packages to have up to 100 players at a time. A server overload prompt has been added. Now, if there is a ton of network traffic from players in combat, you will have a visual indicator that the server is overloaded in that area. They recommend moving to another world or location in these situations. That said, when you experience lag when moving or skill effects aren't working, you kind of already know the server is overloaded, but having a UI indicator is nice to confirm it. You can now join a permanent server directly from the scenario sign-up feature or as a brand new character. This is actually a fantastic quality of life upgrade. Players no longer have to wait until their server ends and merges to be able to play with their friends now. The camera mode has 3 new customizable light sources you can add to illuminate your photos. The lights can be moved around, change their intensity, and even use a color picker. The Wish Machine has 3 new prize pools: the Snow Camo Gloves and Blackstone set, Hazardous Object, and the Silent Anabasis. A choose 1 of 3 returning set of Lightforge loot crates is now in the shop. I have full showcases of all 3 that I made in the past, but each one has had a small effects update. Techno Stampede's Nightmare Bringer set now has static shocks when sprinting. Arcane Celestial's White Enigma set has white orbs appearing when you fire a weapon, which then upgrade either from sustained fire or reloading. I unfortunately don't own it to confirm the specifics. Stardust Edge's Stardust Mayfly set has an on defeat effect with a cascade of butterflies. Additionally, each set has a theme, name card, and die variation to obtain. This is based on how much of the collection you obtained either when it came out before or when making purchases now. Personally, I would have liked to see all of their effects changing with the die variant so that it matches better, but maybe the devs can adjust that in the future. Please note that the Stardust Edge crate uses the gem system, whereas the other 2 still run on the old system. And here's some Once Human Raidzone specific adjustments. Enemy territory boundaries no longer show at long distances, so you can't use this function to scout bases that are hiding. There is a bit of an exploit in Raidzone and Prism vs PvP where players would try to save your territory as a blueprint. This switches it to a wire mesh which shows where the terminal and other vital objects are. It would only say you don't have permission at the end when you try to confirm, so in Raidzone the devs have removed the ability to do this on buildings you don't have permission on. Hopefully they put this into Prism vs as well. Safe zones have been added around the NPC vendors, but if you log out, your character will lose HP after 30 minutes, meaning you can't abuse them. New incendiary ammo was added with less velocity and damage, but can catch enemies on fire and be used against wooden structures. Other ammo has been balanced with the high velocity ammo having higher velocity, and demolition ammo now has less velocity. Garages can be built in Raidzone now. You can find vehicle parts or craft them at the supplies workbench. Now for Way of Winter optimizations, we have adaptive difficulty for Chaos Weavers and the phase lengths have been shortened. Next up, another big round of weapon balancing has arrived to the main game. The Corrosion Shotgun should be back to being an absolute monster with this update. The weapon gains a massive 25% power surge crit rate increased from 15%, and a 200% maximum power surge crit damage, up from the original 150%. but it's also twice as fast to stack to the maximum. To go with that, the Gasmask coming in with a 15% power surge damage increase and an extended effect duration. Then, to top that all off, the first electrocution mod gains 5% additional power surge damage and is no longer affected by other players, meaning you can use it in multiplayer content without any issues. The Outerspace SMG also got a little love with a reduction in hits required to trigger its lightning strike. Conflicting Memories LMG now deals less shrapnel damage in PvP, but had its shrapnel hit number buffed to 6, and it's easier to reach the magazine capacity. The Pyroclasm shotgun's Dragon Breath persists when switching between weapons and back. This was really holding the weapon back for using certain mods, and when losing the buff to swap for things like marking. Jaws is buffed with 50% blast damage up from the original 30, the Pinpoint Strike Mod coming in with an additional 10% bomber damage. This is a good buff to all the bomber weapons, meaning I might actually bring out my old Gulped Lore and Compound Bow builds again. And lastly, they fixed some issues, causing Viper Mask to not work, and the hazardous object was able to trigger the Gulped Lore's auto-critical bomber effect. They're also looking at updating the Raining Cache and Abyss Glance in the future based on our feedback. For vehicle updates, motorcycles now have a passenger seat. Sadly though, you can't shoot from the back. If any devs are watching, please add that feature. The option to drive a vehicle or get into the passenger seat is now 2 separate buttons. So there's no more fumbling onto the back of your bicycle when you're solo. Changing your vehicle's skin, fueling, and repairing are now switched to a radial option wheel and can be done so outside of the garage. And similar to Raidzone, the main game now has scrap vehicles around the map in all scenarios. You just repair the vehicle with a repair drill, bring it back to your territory, and lock it for your use. There is a maximum of 6 locked vehicles allowed per player. In Raidzone specifically though, vehicles that get to 20% HP or lower now will become unlocked and can thus be hijacked. For construction, we can now place fences on top of foundations and ceilings. And wallpapers can now be placed on top of frame types, including the window-style walls. So that's it for this news update. If I missed anything vital, make sure to let everybody know in the comments. Check out these Lootcrate showcases so you can pick the one that you like the most, and my entire Once Human playlist will also be on the right. Hey, can somebody get Greg a cookie so he'll do the weather next week?